مامان مامان م. مامان ها مامان kids bully me at school. Bully you? How? They tell me bad words for my scarf. When I was your age, the rain of cuss words wasn't my biggest problem. It was the rain of fire. The enemy's airplanes fired bombs above our heads. همش وضعیت قرمز میشد نمیدونستیم زنده میمونیم یا نه. فقط یه ساعت در کل روز کارتون پخش میکردن که اونم هی از شانس ما برقا میرفت. اون وقت توی بچه لوس نونو دو تا دونه کلمه حرف شنیدی اون وقت اینجوری خودتو باختی؟ I apologize. Shirin has just moved to a new city, to a new school, and she couldn't give less fuck. Ever since she was very young, her family would constantly move to a new city, to a bigger city with better people, for a better job. The constant improvement was due to her parents working their asses off, perhaps because for immigrants there isn't really any other choice. And Shirin's family aren't even normal in that matter. They're Muslims, and they don't hide it by not wearing scarves and trying desperately to fit in. And it gets way more complicated for them when the story begins a few years after the 9/11 incident. The first impression we get from her is her first day at the new school in the new town. She ignores everyone gaping at her scarf and tries to remain as unnoticed as possible. But at some point, after the teachers keep ridiculing her and picking on her, she snaps and gets into trouble. To be honest, I never really understood the depth of racism or privilege until I started this book, and a few chapters in, I was stunned. Because there's really no better word to describe the mixture of feeling I was having, merely from reading. To give you a better context, I live in an Islamic country and wearing a scarf is a part of my daily attire. Completely normal. And to think that for wearing an extra piece of cloth, someone would be so mentally and physically tortured. Wow. But our girl Shirin, despite her unfairly young age, has grown a thick skin. And beside her armor of indifference, she also finds something else to not only distract her from the shit routine of social interactions she cannot avoid, but also to look forward to. Her obsession with fashion and clothes, and breakdancing sessions at the club her brother founded. Something to look forward to, which she rarely has experienced for a very long time, since at some point she stopped allowing herself to get attached to anything. Because what was the point if they were going to move on ASAP? But despite her deliberate coldness, she begins to melt for this kind boy at school who is genuinely interested in her. She tries to fight it. She really does. She knows fully well that their bubble is not going to last, and at some point, he's going to realize the true horror of being a brown Muslim in a white society. But he keeps insisting, and she finally gives in. And the disaster begins. A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi is a YA contemporary romance inspired by the author's own experience growing up in USA as the child of Persian immigrants. Misogyny and racism and the real talk of injustice are really bold throughout the novel, and you might want to consider that. I've never had the experience of sort, I mean, of course, apart from misogyny, but still, I was traumatized for a few days, and probably because I share a very similar background and identity with the character, and also that since childhood I have had this dream of traveling around the world and living in different places. Not so sure about some places anymore. Also, the character arcs and the revelations they're going to have is just so relatable and adorable. and moving, and I really don't think it's just reserved for people who share the same kind of identity or have had the same sort of experience. I read it in one day and I was awake through the night to finish it until my eyes were about to bleed. Pick a free day to start this, because once you do, you're not gonna be able to put it down. The great news is the movie rights were sold, and at some point we might get a movie adaptation out of it. I'm more than ready for it. I need it. I mean, there are some movies with Persian actors and characters at their center, but they're mostly produced by Persians themselves, and like 99% of them are comedy. This, with its social awareness theme, feels like it's going to be a breakthrough, and the sort of narrative we don't have in the cinematic industry at the moment. Right after finishing a very large expanse of sea, I started reading her new YA contemporary romance, An Emotional Great Delight, which was published like in less than a month ago. A couple of chapters in, and I finally allowed myself to realize that the fictional racism was already having its toll on me. It's horrible to even read it. Through is a very sweet novel. How would it feel if it was for real? Like, how does this happen in 21st century? I'm truly speechless. That was my overall spoiler-free review. The rest of this video, I'm going to talk about the cultural and the religious aspect of the novel. Though you can still hang out, I'm not going to mention anything you wouldn't know or couldn't guess already. Let's start with 2 fun facts. First, it took me 1/3 of the novel to realize what it was named the way it was. I know, I'm so smart. Number 2, Shireen mentioned that at some point her family had decided to go back to Iran and had even tried it, and there she went to school that she mentioned was her most favorite among all the ones she'd ever been to. And something she mentioned about the kids there was her classmates' obsession with America, and that she was the most popular she'd ever been in her life. Honestly, I couldn't stop recalling that I used to watch American high school soap operas and wish that I could participate in them instead. And I remembered that I was particularly jealous of this classmate of mine who was so bloody rich that she could do just that. And she was postponing it for her bachelor's degree because, simply put, she was too lazy to work on her language skills. And then, through this book, I was like, this could have been me. It feels really weird to suddenly see a shady side of something you had always thought perfect and flawless and fun, which was very sad because the difference lies between a piece of cloth and a shade of skin. Such a deep philosophy. The Persian representations in this book was so freaking accurate. I don't know if it's because rarely seeing your culture well represented in an English book, but after facing every single detail, I would burst out laughing. The jokes, the food, the struggles with translating the poems, lying about having said prayers. Everything was so just, so well crafted that after blinding myself reading the ebook, I decided I was also going to buy the hardcover. But mostly in order to poke it in the eyes of those who do us dirty in their movies and books. Though there was one aspect of it I couldn't fully grasp: the religion. Don't get me wrong, I might have been raised in a very religious family in a conservative society, but that also has given me the perspective to never judge people for what they believe in, unless it's very racist. The order that was a bit thought-provoking here was Shireen's parents' state of religion, if that's the right way to say it. I mean, for example, her mom, we never knew what her attire looked like. We could only guess that since Shireen had learned to wear hijab, she too wore hijab. And since once, near the end of the book, she finally bothered to ask her children if they had said their prayers, we could guess that she must be religious. But Shireen, she was so insisting on keeping her job, even after two dudes had tried to choke her with her own scarf when she was way younger, and she's 16 in the novel. Yet, she had no problem kissing or touching her love interest. Again, I'm not judging. I personally look at every faith, every way of thinking out there and pick the stuff that fits well with my own personality and omit the rest. Not every person of faith performs every duty expected of them. But most of the time, there's a logic behind what they do and what they don't. For example, hijab's philosophy is to protect a woman from stranger men. So is the limitation of how intimate you can be with them. Shireen's philosophy here might have been that she trusted the guy enough to kiss him passionately and be sure that he wouldn't make advantage of her, use her. But it draws the question as to why she never took out her scarf in front of him. Or how on earth her parents never paid attention to the details of her relationship. I mean, yes, it was explained multiple times that her parents, having fled war and multiple sorts of disasters, thought their children's problems to be minor. But they were, as probably many Persian parents are, very sensitive about her not even having any sort of relationship. And they did realize that she liked this classmate of hers, but they never asked any follow-up questions. So, Shahrzad, I heard your friend Shahrzad, Shirin, your friend Shirin has a boyfriend. You heard Shirin has a BF? Yeah, I heard that too. It's not like I have a boyfriend. I seriously don't. Oh, sorry, boy, what? What does that even mean? Shahrzad. Who is he? Does he have a family? Does he work part-time? Is he dumb or is he smart? Is he tall or is he a dwarf? How much weight can he lift? Is he right-handed or left-handed? How much money does his great uncle make? How am I supposed to know? Wait, is that my hoodie? Yes, what of it? Nothing. Nothing. We were talking about Shirin's boyfriend. I swear I do not know him. But when I was your age, I knew what my mom's old elementary school friend's daughter's cousin's grades were. What I mean is, you won't be getting a traditional definition of a religious person. It's hardly the focus. The focus of the story is more on Islamophobia and how this filter makes people see the likes of Shireen not as human beings, but as monsters. Tell me if you've read other books of the same theme from diverse authors. I'm pretty new to this, and I would like to know if there are any other books with this sort of subgenre done in other genres, like fantasy, for example. And please, don't talk about Shatter Me series. Not yet. I haven't yet started reading them, and surprisingly, I haven't faced any sort of spoilers, which is weird, but I would like to keep it that way. How does this work? So, I've realized that you've been watching my daughter's video until now. Why? Are you related? Are you dating? My daughter is not just some girl you would just watch and don't like and subscribe. Yeah, do them both. Okay. Here, she talks about books, movies, and all the stuff she's not supposed to waste her money on. Okay. And culture. She talks about culture. I don't know what that means. And follow her on other social medias, so I'm gonna follow you back. It's not a kindness. I'm going to watch you and watch out for my daughter. I just want to know who the hell you are and watch out for this, God forbid, conversations you're going to have. What type of books do you read again?